career in high school, working weekend shifts at KWHP in Edmond, Oklahoma. After moving to Austin to attend the University of Texas, he began doing news and traffic reports at Top 40 KHFI, later working at KLBJ AM. After a stint in Los Angeles at KFI, Chris took over the evening shift at KRBE in Houston. Later, he worked middays before joining KKBQ because his general manager forgot to sign his non-compete clause. During the 90s and early noughts, Chris made stops at WYXR in Philadelphia, KPLN in San Diego, and WVOR in Rochester. He left radio for a sales job at Paychex, but it turned out that radio was not through with Chris. Currently, he does mornings at WLGZ in Rochester, while still maintaining his day job. Please welcome Chris Kelly to the Texas Radio Hall of Fame.
Thank you. And I miss my mullet. I really do. I think mullets are coming back, and so is neon. Just wait. Okay. A couple things. First of all, it's fun to see those photos, and the 80s was fun. We had so much fun back in the 80s. A couple of my previous coworkers are here from the 80s, and we were just wild back then, and now we look like we're ready for a Social Security seminar. So it's kind of sad. And I was just thinking I was going to get out my reading glasses. I've not seen anybody get out their reading glasses yet. What's the deal? Am I the only old person here or what? So just a quick synopsis of how I got into radio. And first of all, I've been in radio 48 years now, which is hard to believe. And to this day, I still think somebody's going to walk up to me and say, it's time you get a real job. But nobody's done it yet. And until they do, and I think all of you probably thought that because it really doesn't feel like a job. It's been so much fun over the years. And also I'm amazed because I didn't think I would live to be 48. So that's it. Quick synopsis, I started in high school. As that said, I knew a girl in high school whose dad owned a dinky little radio station on the edge of Oklahoma City. And I just took a job for fun. And then when I went down to UT at Austin, by the way, Texas is winning right now. Red easily, in case you're wondering. I went down there and I was looking for just a part-time job, and either I could flip burgers or try to stay in radio. And I ended up taking a job at K98 KHFI, which was a huge top 40 in the market at the time. And I started doing traffic reports. And then they moved me over to news, and then they gave me a weekend shift every once in a while, which I liked a lot more, being a disc jockey. No hard feeling against you news people, but just wasn't my thing, the traffic. And then I wanted even more hours at that point, and I was still thinking this was a part-time job. And I got hired over at KLBJ AM, not the FM. I wasn't cool enough to be on the FM. On the AM, believe it or not, the overnight shift. And two things. First of all, when you're a full-time college student, don't do the overnight shift. Your grade point average will not look very good. And then the other thing is I only had 2 hours on the air, and the other 3 hours I had on the air was running the Larry King Show back before computers. Somebody had to sit there and insert the local commercials if you were still awake to insert the local commercial. And that was the most of my job over at KLBJ AM, but I think that's where I really decided that it was more than just a part-time job, because I would listen to Larry King take calls from people out in the middle of nowhere. They were calling in and relating to him, and he was their friend, and he was in the studio, I think in Washington, D.C. at the time. And that's when I realized that radio was more of a one-on-one thing. It was the people calling in were talking to their friend Larry. They didn't care that millions of other people were listening. And that's when it kind of struck with me. I realized that radio is very intimate. You're talking to a person, not 100,000 people at a time, but one person at a time, 100,000 times over. And what you say, how it affects them, if it makes them laugh, if you give them the weather, they don't care what the other 100,000 people are doing in the weather, they just care about themselves. And that's when I realized radio was so intimate and that I wanted to stick with it. So from there, I somehow got a job at KFI in LA, worked out in LA. When I was in Austin, I had a rotating door of program directors at K98. KLBJ was a brief stint, but one of the program directors I worked with in Austin was Roger W. Garrett, Roger W. Garrett, who's in the Hall of Fame now. And he had gone to KRBE in Houston and called me out in LA. And he said, you want to come home? You want to come to Texas? And I said, yeah, I do. I was kind of lonely out in LA, to be honest with you. And I started doing nights at KRBE, worked my way up to middays, filled in mornings for a while. I say filled in for over a year because they still paid me as a midday guy, but I was doing mornings for a year. You know how radio is. And then worked with great people there. I worked with Glenn Beck was there briefly. Our night guy was Elvis Duran, who's been doing pretty well on radio. He's up in New York. Paul Christie was the program director. Roger W. Gare was the program director. Scott Sparks, great guy. A lot of these people are in the Hall of Fame. And then KDVQ 93Q asked if I wanted to come over and do middays. They were our arch nemesis. We hated them. They hated us. But I said yes. And that was a little awkward for a few weeks because I was literally, some of them said we should hire him, sign him to a contract, and then fire him with a no compete. And I thought, great, thank you very much. But it worked out pretty well. We became really, really good friends, and we had a blast in the 80s. It was a huge radio station. And I worked with some great people there, John Lander, Ron Parker, John Trepane started as a part-timer in the promotions department, who nominated me today. Our night guy, Jammer, who is now Joe Kelly, does mornings at KRLD. He's here. Is Jammer here still? Joe still here somewhere? He's back there. Yeah. He looks like he needs a Social Security seminar, Joe. And the reason I mention all these people is that really my years in Texas, because from Houston I went to Philadelphia, met my wife, San Diego, and now I'm in Rochester, New York. But Texas was really where my radio, I learned so much from the best people. Really, the only reason we're here and radio is so great, I think, is because of Texas people. So I just wanted to mention them. It was just a lot of fun. It still is. Still going strong at 48 years. I want to thank John Trepane for nominating me 3 years in a row. Thank you, John, and campaigning for me. And thanks for answering my phones back at 93Q. I appreciate that too. And getting me home safely at night a few times too. It's been a reminder. Thank my wife Rachel for putting up with me, and I met her in the Philadelphia stop, and we've had a great time, and she seemed the best and worst of me. And I want to thank those of you here who voted for me. Thank you very much. Those of you who didn't vote for me, your cars are being towed from the parking lot as we speak. And it's an honor to be in this group of 25 inductees, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.